The Division shipped to mostly positive critical reviews back in March of 2016, though it also received a less positive fan reception, and it's easy to see why.
Area secured. Hostiles neutralized.
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. A lack of content at launch and a shallow endgame were two common complaints about Ubisoft's third-person shooter. But give credit where it's due, the company tried to right these issues by releasing DLC in the form of missions, gadgets, expansions, and more over the next 2 years to help fill the content gap. Thus, The Division, as it stands today, is quite a different game than it was in 2016, and better yet, Ubisoft and Massive Entertainment were definitely taking notes from all the online feedback they received with the aim of improving the second game and not copying past mistakes.
Alert. Hostiles detected.
So, with The Division 2 releasing soon, we thought we'd take a look at ways it needs to improve over the original in order to live up to its potential. We already know that Ubisoft and Massive have fixed a few things that were commonly criticized in the first game. First off, and most important, we know that The Division 2 will contain a more robust endgame than that found in the first one. Finishing the main campaign and hitting the level cap will seemingly only lead to a new beginning of sorts, as the endgame offers specialization classes, including Survivalist, Sharpshooter, and Demolitionist. Along with 8-player raids and a host of post-release DLC content aimed at expanding the endgame's experience. But you won't have to wait until you hit the level cap to get more extras, because Ubisoft plans on having more content ready at launch as well, obviously having learned their mistake of having too little of it available at the Division's launch. Further, The Division 2 will see its free DLC released over the course of 1 year, whereas the original game took 2 years to release all its extras, so there will be more to do in a shorter time span in the second game. All told, the Day 1 content, post-release DLC, and endgame improvements should keep gamers locked into post-apocalyptic Washington, D.C. for a long, long time. Another issue with the first game was that, despite all the post-release DLC, there wasn't anything of significance added to the game's storyline once it was completed. Once the main campaign was finished, that was pretty much it.
Warning. Additional incoming hostiles.
Not so this time around, however, as the post-release DLC promises to expand on the story beyond what occurs in the main campaign. Also, the length of the main campaign is longer this time as well, taking upwards of 40 hours to complete. And of course, like in the first game, you can tackle the main story in co-op or totally solo, and solo play works quite well. We have a feeling a lot more single-player gamers will pick up and enjoy The Division 2 this time around, seeing as it's boasting quite a bit of solo features.
Enemy out in the open.
We liked the first game, but it didn't offer much by way of customization. So, in terms of adding your own touch to The Division 2, Ubisoft is promising a more personalized experience. You'll be able to tweak your player by wearing special cosmetic items that are gained by completing in-game accomplishments. Also, wearing multiple items of the same clothing brand will give you special bonuses, kind of like gear sets in the first game. And gear sets are back this time around too, with new gear added to the mix to make gunning your way around Washington, D.C. more exciting. And luckily, shooting your way across the open world in The Division 2 has improved and will feel slightly more authentic in the second game due to its upgraded bullet sponge mechanics. Weaker enemies will be more vulnerable to gunfire, and armored baddies will also die sooner once their armor starts to deteriorate. Also, in terms of correcting things from the first game, the Dark Zone is back in The Division 2, and thankfully, it's rebalanced. This time, there are 3 Dark Zones, and they're geared towards casual players as well as high-skill players. So these zones won't feel so daunting for those with mediocre stats. The only thing cooler than multiple Dark Zones would be a Battle Royale mode, but at this point, that's clearly wishful thinking.
The walled-off Dark Zones have remained untouched by scavengers, leaving these areas filled with high-level equipment.
Now that we've covered the stuff we know has changed in The Division 2, let's look at a few more things that we hope are fixed come March 15th. First off, we'd love to see a more complex base building system that doesn't just stop once there are no more upgrades to be found. Think of how cool it would be running around the endgame collecting items for your base and trying to outbuild your neighbor's base. Kind of like Flip This House, The Division style. Also, having been spoiled by playing Red Dead Redemption 2, we want more significant interaction with the city's NPCs, and more of an interactive environment this time around. While details on these issues are scarce at the moment, we do know that Ubisoft promises a more dynamic environment, so that's a start. And within this dynamic environment, we want to be able to interact with the game's factions in a more satisfying way. Imagine being able to manipulate or pit one faction against the other for your own benefit, instead of just mowing down members from any group when encountering them on the map. It would add a lot more strategy and would be a welcome improvement.
Foster, we need support on the stairs. Martinez, move up on the flank. Go, go, go!
And finally, there's everyone's favorite topic, microtransactions. We know they're going to be in The Division 2, and that, once again, they will only be for cosmetic items that won't affect gameplay. But we sincerely hope that they're more reasonably priced than they were in the last game. We're not dropping $5 on a backpack. Sure, they're optional and we don't have to buy anything if we don't want to, but seeing as purchased items have no effect on gameplay, we feel they should be a tad cheaper so we can have more fun dressing up our players. And please Ubisoft, no loot boxes. We know that loot boxes are neither confirmed nor denied, but with all these amazing steps The Division 2 is taking to improve over the original game, we'd rather not have to hear about another loot box controversy anytime soon.
Vitals are critical. Emergency procedures required.
All in all, it really appears like Ubisoft and Massive Entertainment have stepped up their game over the last few years, and are looking to deliver the definitive Division game that fans so desperately wanted back in 2016. Seeing as The Division 2 is running on an updated version of the Snowdrop engine found in the first game, and that multiple studios, including 3 under the Ubisoft banner, are helping Massive this time around, it appears that the mentality behind this game is go big or go home, and The Division 2 plans on going big time.
We will not compromise. We will never surrender.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from Watch Mojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.